All right. So, hello, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Marquise Navarro, and this is the coaching show. Jesus, every time I mess it up, it's our show, and I still mess it up. Welcome to This is Coaching. I'm one of the hosts, and I'm joined by two awesome coaches, Monica Rivera and Nicolette Moore. It's opposites day. I'm going to change my last name too. I swear I've done this before, but why are we here today? So, first off, we're here because I love hanging out with these two ladies. Second, we're going to talk about a topic that I like and I struggle with on a regular basis: motivation and discipline. Do you need both? Do you need one or the other? And how do you maintain it? I know I've got my methods and they don't always work. Trust me, it is a constant battle, regardless. And now that we're in the new year, 2021, which is already on track to kick 2020's ass, and as far as excitement goes, it's going to be great. Why not get those resolutions going and use it as a distraction? I know I have, and I've been going pretty good, which is part of my motivation. So I'll turn it over to you ladies. Like, what are your thoughts on motivation and discipline, Monica?
Wow, yes. Well, motivation. I am usually very motivated to start something, but sometimes I have a hard time staying disciplined. I have to confess.
Yes, that is, and I think that's the big thing. Like, how do you maintain the discipline? And I've got my theory on it, but I want to hear what Nicolette has to say first.
I think I have a different perspective on what motivation and discipline mean. Um, to me, motivation is a very internal driver on something that you personally value deeply. And so motivation is not something that you have to look on it for any external influence on.
Mhm.
My personal belief is that if you want to accomplish something, you're going to get your ass out of bed and you're going to make it happen. And I say that I say that because I've experienced all the scale of things that I think that I should be doing, things that I want to be doing, things that um, I think that they epitomize success or whatever. And so I'm like, oh well, this is something I should achieve or go after. But at the end of the day, what I find is I wake up and I'm driven to work, for example, on my business every single day, regardless of what's going on in my business.
Okay.
So regardless of how many clients I might be working with at any given moment, or regardless of what's going on in my life, I am just driven. I wake up in the morning and I think I need to work on this. Nobody else is telling me to do it. Nobody else, So it's like this internal driver that just pushes me and pushes me. Now, the discipline, I don't think it's disciplined, right? I'll get up and I'll work, but I may not have a disciplined approach. So I don't have set, like, I'm going to work on this from this time to this time. And it's just because my brain is a hot mess. And so the discipline aspect of it is really creating something that's efficient so that I'm productive. And that is something I've not mastered. But so I think that motivation is not, it's something that is just inside of you, and that it just drives you and pushes you towards something. And like Monica said, sometimes she's motivated to start something but that not finish. And it almost makes me wonder, is it something that you actually truly deeply care about, or is it something that's like a vanity, like I think I'm interested in this, but truly deep down, not really.
Well, it depends because sometimes, well, I'm motivated, for example, to diet now that it's the new year. But when you get to that certain time of the day when the craving comes, it's hard to not give in. And that's where the discipline for me comes in. Now you're talking about working on your website and working on your business. I do that a lot too. And there I stay motivated on keep on working on it. That's true.
Hmm.
But sometimes I need discipline to stay focused on the right things to do.
Hmm. Yeah, I feel that.
What
Yeah,
about you, Marquise?
Yeah, I think like so I have the same thing, right? The motivation first is something that drives you, but it comes from somewhere, right? It's my why, right? There's a reason I want to do this, and that is what motivates me to get going. And for me, the discipline piece is more of a when it is difficult to keep yourself from going back to old habits, right? That's where the discipline kicks in. Like for instance, the program I'm doing right now, where I don't eat for 48 hours. Well, I'm not what you call a small dude, so food is life. And for me to not eat for 48 hours, that takes some control and self discipline. So what I do is I actually think about what my end goal is, my why, and then that kicks in. Okay, you can do this. Just don't eat it, and you'll be fine. Go drink 8 ounces of water. Perfect. Now, for the way that you explained it, Nicolette, I could actually see how you would say that is motivation like throughout the entire piece. But I would challenge you to say, are you sure it's not just motivation with bouts of discipline and you're just not recognizing it, right? Because the
Mm,
discipline piece that you spoke of sounds to me more like organization.
mhm.
And I'm not organized. If you saw my desk right now, like this looks all nice and neat. I don't have to worry about it. It's hanging on the wall. But
It's a whole piece.
yeah, if you saw my desk, like it's just been my habit for years. I work great in chaos and makes my bosses nervous. I used to love it. But anyway, I digress. Yeah, so that's more like, in my opinion, more of an organizational thing. You're motivated and disciplined to keep going, right?
Mhm.
Um, because you figured out how to focus on that initial reason. And that, at least that's what it sounds like to me. The way you explained it is that drive and that want to accomplish what you started out to do is, and for you it sounds like it's all rolled into one, motivation and discipline. But for me, I do have to separate it because there are days where I don't want to get up, and no matter how much I think about my why, it's just, God, this sucks. So at that point I built the habit and the discipline kicks in, and I kick my feet over the side of the bed. I trip over the dog, I get up, get dressed, and I go to the gym. And that is the discipline piece. And then once I get in there, I start thinking about everything. I'm feeling good. I'm like, okay, it's not as bad. I'm not dying. And I'm thinking about why I started this to begin with. And then my motivation kicks in and I'm good for the rest of the day.
Hmm.
And then, yeah, so that's how I roll with it. And I think a lot of people struggle with that. They're like, well, I'm not disciplined enough and I don't have the motivation. Well, you got to have, in my opinion, you need a little bit of both. But in order to get that first piece of motivation, you have to start with something. And it's just with any goal, you have to start with why you want to do it. And how do you sit down and determine like this is, what I want to do? What are the processes you guys go through to map out your why and your goal?
Well, as far as like what I feel like, for me personally, it's been a crazy path, right? It's been a crazy road. And I would say that the only thing that I'm super motivated by every morning is to get up and work on my business. Like I've got my kids, I've got my family, I've got my house, and those things are just like, to me, this natural integration of my life. It's not something that I don't wake up every morning and be like, I'm going to be the best mom today that I can be. I just get up and mom, right?
Yeah.
So for the business, there's like this internal passion that I have, this this force that I feel like I can't even stop it. It just like pulls me, it compels me. When did that happen? I don't know. I don't know when that trigger switched or flipped for me. But I have sat down on multiple occasions and written out a why or goals that I have, right? So that I can kind of focus my energy and focus my effort, and in hopes of having some type of disciplined approach, like in hopes of having some type of like, okay, well, I can have passion all I want. I can ooze passion, but that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't help me get anywhere. So, um, what am I trying to accomplish? And how can I let this passion just kind of like fuel it?
Right.
So sitting down and really tapping into the why has been really important, just to get clarity. And we've talked about this on countless occasions, right? The power of writing things down,
Mm-hmm.
getting things out of your head. And so there's this concept of going 6 levels deep, 6 or 7 levels deep. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, um, but the idea of like, okay, so why, for my business, for example, why do I care so much about being a coach, right? Why do I care so much? And so I'll answer that question. And then whatever the answer is, say it's, I want to change lives. And then I'll say, okay, well, why do I want to change lives? And then I'll answer that question. And then whatever the answer is there, I'll answer that question with another why. And you just continually, it's like peeling back the layers of an onion. And it really helps you just with the clarity of really understanding that like foundational baseline driver that's pushing you towards something. So whether it's a business or exercising, weight loss, it's a really great way to get super clear about why do you care about this?
That's pretty good. So that does sound familiar. I'll talk about that in a sec. What about you, Monica?
Yeah, that's peeling down the layers makes it really obvious why you want to do something, and that makes it clear for me as well. So knowing the real reason behind something is really, really powerful. And how I get there, I mean, I just get an inspiration, and sometimes I just feel it so strong in my heart that this is the right thing. It's not something that comes through my mind. It comes from the level of the heart. Like you just feel it. This is right. I just need to do this. And then I just follow. Yeah, I'll just move on and see what comes. And I'll take the challenges as they come. And sometimes I get unfocused and get back into discipline. And then, yeah, feeling that feeling of why I really wanted it and what felt so right at that moment makes me get back into focus again so I can stay disciplined.
No, that definitely is one of the things that I've had problems with in the past, like staying focused. And that was so when you were talking, both of you, I was thinking, you have all this clarity, or you try to get clarity, and you have everything written down. And so, what happens when you go back and uh, your vision changes? Like, at what do you ever feel discouraged? Because all right, well, when I first started this was my reason. This is what I was looking to do. But now that I've started thinking and going through the process and building, and I think I need to change it. Do you get discouraged, or do you just keep going as a, like, this is okay. I can live through this. Do you feel like it's starting all over, or what?
Honestly, I think that's one of those situations that we've got to give ourselves grace on. Period. Like life is meant for living, and living is not this like A plus B equals C equation all the time. There are highs, there are lows, there are gray areas that we face. And so, whenever you ask a question like that, that's a complicated question because we live with complicated situations. And so it's hard to be general in a response to a question like that because there are so many variables and there's so many things that we face that we could be initially motivated to change or motivated to do, and then we realize through time, well, what I originally thought is just not so. And so I've got to pivot, I've got to change pace, I've got to do something different. And so I think it's really comes down to discouragement happens for sure, and a lot of people fall into that trap, myself included, right? Like I'm not perfect by any means, and I get discouraged just as much as anyone else, but I always go back to remind myself that life is a journey, like say you're dieting, Monica, and you get to the middle of the day and you see that damn brownie on the counter that's just staring at you, you know. And so look to the right, you look to the left, and then you're like, nobody's around, nobody's gonna see, and you take the brownie, right? Okay, so you messed up a little bit. You kind of sabotaged your efforts. That doesn't mean that it's over.
No.
Right? So it's like, and that's just a small little example, but discouragement can come in many forms. And you just have to remind yourself that you're human, you're on a journey, and you can always pick yourself back up again, reevaluate, and move forward.
And so, yeah, that's definitely what I was alluding to. And I'm glad you said all of that, because the way you just explained that was, although shit happens, I'm going to survive it. Right. What about you, Monica?
Yeah, tomorrow is always another day, right? And I talking about the brownie and the example. You sort of have to. I figured out ways of, well, sort of why I'm not able to stay disciplined. For example, the brownie example, that would be in the afternoon when my sugar levels are low and I need a boost of something. So I found a solution for that. I get a coffee and that's it. So that problem solved. But all the other ones, when I get discouraged or when I lose focus on what I do, I have to go back and figure out what was the real reason I wanted it. And if I see that there's something that can't happen because of something, I mean, I will really get discouraged, I have to tell. I mean, it's because my dreams are my dreams, and well, I suppose we all have them. And when you have to let go of a dream, it can be hard, but there is always a way. So I just let it go for that moment, and then just the day after, I will pick myself up again and figure out a way, because there's always something that I can do to move myself forward in one direction or the other, but I'm moving forward.
Exactly. And I think with a lot of us, we have this thing where if we fall, like take one step back, even two steps, they're like, all right, we're done. We might as well continue walking backwards. And we end up right back to where we started, right? At the starting line. And then we're like, okay, I'm here. I'm just going to stay here for a while. And then 6 months later, we're back to, oh crap, got to get off this couch. I got to do something. And we just keep doing that. And then January 1st hits, and like, all right, now we're going to do it. And we go great for like 2 weeks. And then, everything just falls off. The wheels, everything. No steering wheel. You're like, oh crap, who's steering this bus? But I think, if people would give themselves a little bit of leeway, and not beat themselves up so much, like it's way easier to give up than it is to move forward sometimes, depending on what your goal is, right? Because you can always say it just didn't work out. But I think we all know that it just didn't work out turns into a lot of regret 6 months down the road, 6 years down the road. And then you're on your hospital bed like, damn it, I shouldn't have ate that brownie. And like there's just a lot there. And I think if we as humans could learn to give ourselves a break, and I'm guilty of it. I think we're all guilty of it, no matter how much I can explain it and tell people you shouldn't do this, I'm going to do it myself, because we're all human.
Yeah.
But we need to think on it and realize, all right, people make mistakes. All right, so what? I ate a brownie yesterday. Doesn't matter. I'm still down 5 pounds. Let's see if I can drop another pound this week or two, and just move on. And yeah, I think that's really important. And that's why I think there's cheat days, right? In certain programs, you have these cheat days where, like watching The Rock, he eats like 6 pizzas. First off, I don't know how you eat 6 pizzas in a day. But I guess when you're built like, brick shit house, you can eat whatever you want, and it's just going to be used.
I don't know. I just think that's disgusting. That's
yeah, like I
no
did
matter
that.
how fit you are.
Good. Yeah,
Gross.
1 pizza. All right, I got a pizza. It's going to be awesome. But I don't even want to get into his regimen. Anyway, So yeah, I think humans need to learn to give themselves a break and not beat themselves up over things. And yeah, I think when it comes down to it, motivation and discipline are something you need. One after you, not at the same time. Um, you start out motivated because you have this vision, you have this goal, and you sat down, you thought about it, and you're motivated. And that motivation will carry you for a little while. And then after you've built that habit of doing whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's building your business, not eating brownies, going to the gym, whatever, you know, you have that day and you wake up and you're like, I really don't want to work today. Or that brownie on the nightstand looks pretty good. Should have put it there last night. I'm going to eat it. Discipline will kick in because your motivation is down. Your discipline kicks in, tells you, nope, you're not going to do that. You're going to get up and do what you have been doing because it's what's better for you. And then while you're doing whatever it is you're supposed to be doing, you'll think back on that vision and it may change. You may sit down and rewrite it. It may look different, but your motivation will ramp back up. And then you put your discipline back in the holster. And you just keep doing that. It's just kind of like a leapfrog effect. And that's how I've used it in the past. And it tends to work. Sometimes it doesn't. I'm like, all right, I'm done. This is stupid. I'm eating because 48 hours without food is dumb. But, that's my thought on what that is and what that looks like. What about y'all?
I have to say, I think this does go back. I think there might be something that we're missing here because, and we've talked about it, but maybe not as intently as we could, in the sense that I believe that the reason you want something, the reason that there's something going on, whether it's your diet, business, a house remodeling project, there's something that you inherently want to accomplish, and there's something that you're being pulled towards. I often tell my clients this idea of like, you are being called for something. I don't care if it's you're trying to clean up your diet or not. You're being called to something. There's something in your soul that's pulling you. And if you allow yourself to fall off track, which so many people do, you can allow yourself to kind of go into that, oh, well, the diet didn't work. Oh, I'm never going to get this house remodeled. Personal experience here. Or, my business is never going to work out, right? Whatever the thing is, if you initially had this journey that you're on for something and you fall off track and you just feel the sense of, I'm just going to give up, whatever, what's the point? I can never do this, blah, 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 blah. I feel, from my experience, from what I've seen with working with the clients that I've worked with and just being a human and living life myself, observations have been, you're going to keep going back to it. That's why there's the yo-yo dieters, and that's why there's the endless entrepreneurs who, they have a million business ideas, but they never execute on anything. It's because they're called, right? They're called for something, but they have then I guess what I'm alluding to that we're overlooking is maybe the limiting beliefs or the doubt that we have that we can actually accomplish something. So I'm not a New Year's resolution person. I don't do it. I don't believe in it. It's the same thing as kind of like birthdays, Mother's Days, Father's Days, Valentine's Days, all that stuff is bullshit to me, because it's like, why not celebrate each other every day of the year? Why not every day of the year renew your vow to yourself to make your life better? Like, why do we have to have one day that's like, oh, hey, it's a new year, let's do things to be better? No. So I'm just like, I'm not all about that. And it's funny because it's so psychological. People will start something at the head of a year, and then by February it's tapered off, but they feel like shit about it, right? Like it wears on your soul. And so I think that there's looking at, why do you let yourself continually fall into these patterns? it's really self-defeating. And instead of facing yourself and saying, okay, what's really going on here? What are these things that are holding me back? Those are really profound questions to ask yourself to help, because it's like you can have cheat days, right? Like Marquis said, like you can have um, once a week. I don't do anything for business, right? And I love, like, I'm obsessed with getting all my stuff together, and so like I'm always thinking about business and my clients and this and that, and but once a week, every Saturday, I give myself a rest day. It's kind of like a cheat day, like I'll Netflix and chill. I'll do whatever, um and it's there's nothing wrong with that. It's okay to give yourself a break. It's okay to fall off the horse every so often. But if you find yourself continually going back to the thing, going back to the weight loss, or going back to the business, or going back to whatever it is that you're struggling with, it's like, stop putting yourself in the hamster wheel and ask yourself, why does this keep happening? There's a reason why you keep going to it. Why? So ask yourself the 6 to 7 layer deep question, why? Be like an annoying toddler with yourself,
Yeah.
and then really be honest with yourself and say, so what's my deal? Why is it that I don't believe that I can lose weight? Is it that I don't believe that I can enjoy life without that brownie in the afternoon?
Yeah. No, that is actually a very good point. I never thought of it like that. I just thought it was like, I just need X, Y, and Z. And yeah, there are a lot of underlying factors when it comes down to life, right? Um, Regardless of what it is. And it could be business, relationships, both like intimate and like familial. And then workout, weight loss, diet, whatever. Like there's so many things that you could attribute or blame your own uh, mental and physiological responses to your feelings, um, and confidence. I think that big word that we keep throwing out every podcast, self-awareness,
Mm-hmm.
huge when it comes to that. I'm glad you actually brought that up. I didn't even think about that. What do you think, Monica?
Yeah, I think so too. And one thing that I do too, often, not that often, but when it happens, I will, when I get to a point where I feel discouraged, or I feel that it's overwhelmingly much, or I feel some kind of limiting belief hitting in that's saying that I'm not capable or whatever, or anything, or I just don't want to do it, I just sit down and I just let myself let it go. I just say, okay, you can you can let it go. You can let it go and not do it again. You can let the diet go. You're not you don't have to do it. You can let your business idea go, and then I just let that go for a minute, or half a minute. But then something inside of me starts saying, but hey, this is important.
Yep.
This is so important to me. And that gives me that new energy to start and continue on what I'm doing.
Yep.
It's that
Yeah.
soul calling, I'm telling
Yeah.
you.
Exactly. It's like I mean, we had a conversation that, oh my God, it's been a long time, Monica. It was one of our first 4 or 5 sessions, like when we were, all getting together. You're like, yeah, I think I don't want to do this anymore. And then going through the questions, I think I was your toddler at that point. Why?
All
Why?
right.
Turned out, no, you really didn't want to change anything. You wanted to keep going. I'm like, oh, okay. So yeah, it makes sense. Like we kind of give ourselves a little bit of and I've used this one before. Like we sit in our own shit for a while, but every now and then, eventually we got to get up and wipe. So, we allow ourselves to get in a funk, and that's not my quote. That is a Sean Whalen quote. But we allow ourselves to get in this funk, and we can sit there for a little while, but then we have to like, all right, is this where we really want to be? We have to ask ourselves the important questions, the tough questions. Some people don't do that. They just skip that portion, and then they bury everything, and then 6 months later they're like, You know, and like, all right, I shouldn't have done that. And that's where that whole cycle comes in. And I think us as a society around the world, some not so much, like there are more disciplined nations, you know, than others. But you know, us Americans, we're the worst, in my opinion, when it comes to starting stuff and then not finishing. I think that's just the way we were raised. You know,
We
sucks.
are mostly spoiled brats.
Yes, I will say that we're spoiled. Um, but there are, in my opinion, an elite group of folks, you know, between their what high high 20s and up that are actually trying to change that, right? Trying to
Mhm,
motivate individuals to realize their full potential and realize
mhm,
that the only way to get there is working. You can't count on other people to do it for you. You got
mhm.
to do it yourself. And I think we're part of that elite group of individuals.
Preach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So awesome. Yeah, I think this was a really good topic. I always love talking about it because it helps, especially right now. Like I said, I myself am, you know, doing my own little New Year's resolution, but not really a resolution thing. And thinking about it on a daily basis, you know, why am I doing this? What is the purpose as I'm on a full sprint on a bike? You know, it's a stationary bike, but I'm still moving. Legs are burning. I'm like, this is stupid. Why am I doing this? And then I just have the thought in my head of what I'm looking at. It's called money because there's a prize at the end. Um,
Yeah.
no, I'm saying it's that and health. You know, I want to be healthier at 43 years old next week. I'm a man. I can tell my age, even though my gray hair says 60. But at 43 years old, you know, I would love to be able to move like I was, you know, when I was in my 20s. Even though I know that's going to be kind of hard to do, but
Look, I have seen some really sexy late 60, 70-year olds that they take care of themselves.
yeah,
They are fit. They can kick my ass any day and they look good. Like full on attraction machines. Okay. So it's okay. That's okay.
trying to be there one day. I just got to
Yeah.
shed a few layers of winter fat that I've had for the past 6 years, and then I'll be there.
The past 6 years.
Oh, I blame Alaska. When I was up in Alaska, I just started packing it on. It's great. But nah, I love this topic, and I'm glad you guys could share, you know, all that awesome wisdom um, with me and our audience. So let's recap. All right, motivation, discipline. We all have different feelings about it, but at the end of the day, it all starts with something that we want, and it motivates us to get going and get started. Discipline carries us through. Sometimes it doesn't work out, but we also need to learn to not beat ourselves up about it and give ourselves a little bit of leeway and understand that we're going to mess up. It's not going to be an easy trip along that journey. And we will get there as long as we stay the course. We're allowed to have a little bit of a cheat, but not all the time. And it's okay to pivot. Sometimes your vision will change over the course of that journey. And if it does, it doesn't mean you're starting over. It just means you're doing something a little bit different. And I think we can keep all of that in mind. We will get to where we all want to go, whatever that may be. So I just want to say thanks everybody for tuning in, and give Nicolette and Monica a chance to say a closing comment or statement, something I may have forgot, ladies.
Yeah,
What
just remember if you want to reach out to us, you can reach out to us at thisiscoachingshow@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you.
And one little thing, don't forget the small celebrations. You need to celebrate while you're doing things. Things have to
Love
be
it.
fun as well.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. And I will add that all the communications that you send us are confidential. We're not going to share that with anybody unless you tell us. We can share your question or concern on the podcast. Or if you want to jump on, that'd be even better. We can do a little coaching, not really live, but it'll seem live. All right. So thanks, guys. As usual, it's been a pleasure.
Peace.
Same here.